Okay, hello everyone. My name is McKenna. I'm a public relations student here at Biola. I'm graduating in May 2018, and it's coming up super quick. And besides public relations, I'm also really passionate about brand responsibility, and something that I've actually integrated into my website. Here is that. And so if you ever want to learn more about that, maybe after, feel free to go here. You can click learn more to learn more, or you can go to any of these up here, and the URL for that is mckennalboen.com. But I first learned about brand responsibility through my family. Here they are. This was taken a little while ago, but my mom, dad, an older brother, younger brother, and we had a little dog. He's right there. But growing up, my parents, they told us two main things, and the first of those was do your best to everything you do, and the second was no whining, no complaining, no making excuses, and we do all that for the glory of God. And so growing up, that was something that was always on my mind and something that I've internalized and just believed my whole life. And so although I didn't necessarily know the term brand responsibility, I think that that can be at the heart of brand responsibility. It's something that I've believed for a while. But I'm actually not the only one that's interested in this. Right now, studies show that 80% of people believe that brands have a responsibility to improve societal conditions for all people. I bolded it up here, but I'm going to point it out again, the term all people. Right now, public relations is typically defined as the strategic communication process that builds mutually beneficial relationships between organizations and their publics. And so there's a little bit of a gap because public relations is just usually for organizations and their publics, but brand responsibility is for all people. And so what I'm going to be talking about mainly today is that brand responsibility elevates public relations because it opens up the public a little bit more and is thinking about more than just necessarily people that are buying a product of a company. But there's no universal definition right now of brand responsibility, which is kind of hard because when companies are thinking about it, they don't necessarily really know what it is. But this company started about 10 years ago. It's a nonprofit, but it certifies for-profit companies. And it does that using 5 criteria. The first is customers. So basically they go in, look at a company, and then rank them on a scale of 0 to 200. You have to get an 80 to be certified. And so they look at customers. How are you treating your customers? Are you just giving them products? Are you helping them in any other way? The second one is community. It's kind of the same thing, but if you have a business in a certain city, are you doing anything beyond that? Or are you just kind of existing there and selling products? The third is governance. This is like what they're doing with their money. So are you just giving it back to your employees? Are you investing it somewhere? Are you donating it? And then fourth is the workers. Same thing as customers, but how are you treating them? Is there a high turnover rate? Are you paying them well? Are there benefits? And then the environment. And depending on the company, these are scored differently. So the weighting is different. So like for, let's say, REI, Patagonia, Cotopaxi, environment's going to be a little bit more important than it would be for another company. And this, as I said before, it's only about 10 years old, but there's already over 2,000 companies in 50 countries. So that statistic I gave you before, about 80% of people, that wasn't just in the United States, but there's actually a lot of countries that are interested in this as well. And so transitioning over to public relations, that was a little bit just about branding for companies. These are about 5 key components of campaigns that involve brand responsibility and how that elevates public relations. The first is that it's authentic. And so when you go in and make a campaign, you're not just thinking about the mutual relationship being, we're giving you something, you're paying us, and that's it, but you're staying authentic to the brand as well. That ties into purpose, same thing. You're looking at a company and you're saying, how are we different than everyone else? What's our purpose? How are we unique? And you're really thinking about that when you create the campaign, and so it's not just thinking about revenue, because that's not a purpose, that's an outcome. And then thirdly, courageous. I'm going to give you an example for this one. Patagonia recently did a campaign. I don't know if you guys heard about Born Wear. So they basically show their fleece, and underneath it says, do not buy this fleece. And super courageous. People were like, what? When they first did it, because they're telling people not to buy their products, and so you would think they're not creating revenue. And then they also made a website where people buy and sell used Patagonia gear. So for example, a fleece, which is normally $120, $130, it's only $40 on that website. So if you're interested, you can check that out later. But super courageous because they're not really making money off of it, but it actually increased revenue for them because people heard about them, first of all, for the first time. Even if they're not interested in outdoor gear, they make good gear and people still buy from them. And then also people respect that. They're staying authentic to themselves and to their purpose, and it's a really courageous decision, and so people hear about it and are more interested in it. it's different. And then this one is kind of at the heart. It creates positive change. That's the whole idea, is that you're improving societal conditions for all people. And then finally, this one might be my favorite component because it does have to do with PR and relationships, but it's engaging. So if you're going in with a campaign, so we want to help people, we don't just want to take your money, that's really engaging. People are interested in it and want to be a part of that as well, even if they're not a part of the company. And so, in short, PR plus brand responsibility equals success. And the main idea here is just that it does elevate and it creates the public from just being like a specific public who is part of the organization or buying from organization employees to potentially the whole world, because you're improving it for all people. And so you're really just thinking about more than just your company or the people who might not necessarily be able to help you. And so in my own experience, I had the opportunity to work for Darling Magazine this past semester. I actually applied to them twice and didn't hear anything the first time, but the second time I got an interview and was able to become a part of that. And when I was thinking about where I wanted to work, I really thought, if I'm passionate about brand responsibility and want to learn more about it, then I should probably work for a company that is as well, because it's a little hypocritical of me to say that's something I'm interested in and then go work for a company that's not. And so Darling Magazine started less than 10 years ago, and this little blurb has been on the back of every magazine. I'm going to point out the middle section here where it says Darling is a catalyst for positive change, leading women to discover beauty apart from vanity, influence apart from manipulation, style apart from materialism, sweetness apart from passivity, and womanhood without degradation. And the first line is Darling is a catalyst for positive change. And so they're really doing brand responsibility as well and thinking about that, even in this little campaign that they did putting on the back. And so when I worked there, I was thinking about this, they're thinking about this, but only about 2 years before I came, they set down their CEO. It's a really small staff. There's only probably about like 10 of them that are full-time, and they have a lot of interns. And their CEO was talking, and she's like, why are we photoshopping women in our magazine? And we're saying that everyone's beautiful just the way you are. And so they actually stopped doing that about 2 years ago, and now they have this in every single issue. It says none of the women in this magazine have been retouched, and you can see that when you look at it. And so they have all different models, all different shapes and sizes, all different ethnicities, and none of them have been retouched. So sometimes you can see wrinkles, you can see blemishes, and it's kind of refreshing, and it's nice to be able to look at that as someone who also has those things and say, okay, this is accepted. And just to point out a few things about this campaign, I was able to work on it a little bit this semester, their selfie campaign, where you basically take a photo of yourself and then you put it on social and use hashtag selfie or hashtag real not retouched. And it's kind of a movement that's been created there, and they've included it in different media things that they've done. But just to go back to what makes brand responsibility elevating PR is that this is super courageous because no one was really doing this before. It was just kind of Darling, and it was a big move because they're like, that's not going to be successful. If women look at a magazine, they want them to look really nice. And so they got a little bit of backlash initially, but it's actually, right now I'm customer experience intern, and that's one of the number one things that I hear that people like. And as you can see, it's been a huge thing. People are really excited about it. And then it's also creating positive change. Their public right now is about 15 to 25-year-old women, and so that's about high school to college age, and that's usually when people struggle with body image the most. And so this campaign has created positive change by going through that and saying you still look good the way you are, not contributing to that negativity. And then it's authentic, it has purpose as well. And so it's been really exciting to be part of and to get to see that. And actually recently they just partnered with Aerie, which is kind of cool. So that's also the engaging factor, because Aerie also does not Photoshop, and that's something they started fairly recently. And so these are two companies that really have nothing in common besides that they market to women. Aerie's a lingerie company, and then Darling is a magazine, obviously. And so it's been cool to see that partnership and how they can create even more good, even though they really have nothing in common. And so, in conclusion, there are 5 things that I hope you remember from this presentation. First of all, public relations, when combined with brand responsibility, is really relational. And public relations can be relational by itself, too. You don't necessarily need the brand responsibility component to be. But when they're combined, you're thinking about more people, and that creates better relationships anyways than if you feel like a company just wants your money and wants to give you a product, it's okay, and you might still buy from them, but it's not as relational. You might not trust them as much, you might not want to go back to them. And then second of all, it's uniting. And so as I mentioned before, like Aerie and Darling, if Darling wouldn't have stopped photoshopping, or if they would have not done their retouching movement, they probably never would have partnered with Aerie because there would have been no reason to. And that's opened up a lot of doors for Darling as well because they're a pretty small company. There's about 2,000 subscribers right now, which is good, but not like huge. And Aerie, on the other hand, has a huge public. There's probably people in this room who hadn't heard of Darling but have heard of Aerie. And they're also part of American Eagle. And so that's been really cool to see the opportunities that have come from that and how just by thinking about brand responsibility, they've been able to create new relationships. Oops, sorry about that. And then it's also empowering, and it's empowering not just for the individual, but also for organizations. And so going back to Darling once again with the retouching, and as an individual, when you look at their magazine, you're empowered to think that you're beautiful and you don't need to change. But then it's also empowering for other companies to look at Darling and say, wow, this is really successful. It's actually helped them to do that. And so maybe we should think about doing that as well. And also with Patagonia, same thing with their campaign Worn Wear. It's empowering to think about where your clothes are going instead of just always buying clothes. You can donate and give to other people, which is empowering because you know that your clothes that you're not wearing are going to others. And then you're also buying and realizing that you're positively affecting the environment. These are inspiring. This star always makes me smile when I look at it because I think it's something that we can all just look at and agree with, that campaigns that are helping people and making a difference in the world are really inspiring. And also same thing with empowering and uniting and relational. It's for the individual and it's for the corporation so that they can be inspiring for everyone. And then it's elevating. This is kind of the whole point of the presentation, but as I said before, brand responsibility when combined with public relations is really elevating because it opens up the public to more people. And you're not just thinking about revenue as much, not that public relations always is, but sometimes I think that can be a tendency and a pressure is to just say, we need revenue, let's give them a product and market that really well and create a relationship where they know about it and then we'll give them that, but we'll take their money and that's kind of it. But brand responsibility takes it to a whole nother level and that's really not the focus. And so I could keep talking about this for another 15 minutes. I actually did the presentation as a practice run the first time and it was like 30 minutes. So I would love though at this point to open up the floor to any questions if you guys have anything else that you'd like to know about it.